passe. Super, l'artiste. Super, encore un but sensationnel. That's a brilliant bit of follow-up play by Mahe. Oh my goodness me, what a shot.
Sagosen setter det hen! Han setter den! De er i semifinale igjen!
The semi-final curse for Metz and Esbjerg continues. A newcomer makes the finals, and Györ win. All is as it always seems to be at the Women's Final Four after another tournament where we've had amazing semi-finals. This time a little bit of a better final, but ultimately Györ coming out on top, making it 7 titles. Chris O'Reilly here with you to break down what we've just experienced over the weekend in Budapest, joined by Alex Kulesh. How you doing, Alex?
Hey, Chris. Celebrating another home title for a Hungarian team.
Yeah, well, it was one which didn't always look like it was going to go their way. Again, a semi-final day where, and I think we should start with the semi-finals because they were fantastic and really, again, I think got everyone pumped for Sunday's final. There was a lot of chat in the build-up to the Esbjerg and Györ semi-final being almost like a kind of a pre-final in a lot of people's eyes. Not yours, of course. You had your eyes on another team to win it, but in terms of pure, let's say, form and a star power, perhaps, Györ and Esbjerg looked like the massive semi-final, and it certainly delivered. Györ coming out on top after one hell of a game against Esbjerg, and I have my thoughts on why it went the way it did in the end, but what do you make of Esbjerg falling at the semi-final hurdle once again?
I do think there is something to the comment I just made about the home advantage that Hungarian teams have at this Final Four. And when you look at Esbjerg's Final Four curse, they've lost each time to a Hungarian team. And it's 3 times to Györ and 1 time to FTC in this last 4 years where they've been knocked out in the semi-final. And I do really think when the margins are that tight between the teams, it is something that makes the difference. There's this home advantage, even just the confidence, the mental impact where Esbjerg are walking into the arena as underdogs, or like imagine this game in Denmark and just flip that and put it in Herning. Like imagine the kind of the extra mental strength that Esbjerg might get walking into that arena versus a Hungarian team which has a very loud corner of the arena. But I think it is a big difference maker, and yeah, it does feel a little bit unfair. But despite that, I think Györ were the best team across this Final Four weekend. They have just a great backcourt, and I think Brunic Paula and Enzaminko particularly stood out as difference makers or solution finders in critical times. And I was really, really impressed with Enzaminko, who she's just such a steady player all the time at the highest level without like going to the heights that, we see Henny Rice had going to. Enzaminko's not going to score you 13 goals, but she's going to score you 7 really important ones in a semi-final.
That entire Györ team, it felt like, really stepped up there. You mentioned the Enzaminko and Györ Paula. House here was on the penalties, but still did her job there. Ryu, I think, was really surprisingly impressive. I think she hasn't really been at the forefront for this team throughout the season, but she is someone who knows how to get it done, and in the semi-final was 4 from 5 very impressive. In a game where I think there was a lot of chat about the goalkeepers as well in our preview, where, you know, at the end of Sacco and Toft, neither of them had like a massive game, but it felt like they weren't the team that needed to have a massive game, but Esbjerg needed Anna Christensen to have the game that she has been promising all season. You know, the MVP of the AHF Euro back in November and December. All of a sudden, the main woman in goal for, or at least higher in the pecking order than Sandra Toft for Denmark. And when she just wasn't able to get a touch on a ball for much of the first half, I think that was really a troubling thing for Esbjerg, because if you're going to go down to the wire with a team like Györ in Budapest, like you mentioned, with their advantage, chances are you're not going to come out on top. I think you really have to beat Györ like early on, and beat them well if you're going to overcome them. If you're Esbjerg, and it didn't go that way. And like the longer it went on, even though they were close, even though it was a tight game, it never really felt to me like it was going to be their victory, because they never like really had control of the match.
I will have to say about Sacco, her stats may not reflect her full performance in that game, and the way she's being used, she was used in this Final Four, and actually kind of throughout her career for France as well. She is this impact sub goalkeeper, where in both the semi-final and the final, when she came on, immediately got 3 big saves. You know, starting with a saving percentage of like 50% in both games.
Yeah.
Like 3 from 5, 2 from 4 starts. And that has just this, if you bring her on at the right time in the second half to get you those extra, like that little bit of a gap in the game that Györ was able to hold for both games, despite Esbjerg really rallying back and almost getting there at the end in that semi-final. There's 1 goal in it, and they almost had enough time to equalize, like seconds away. But I think that kind of impact, in the mold of a Naboisa Simic, that kind of explosive goalkeeper, which is, I think, more rare on the women's side. You have a lot of very composed goalkeepers, let's say consistent, as opposed to that explosive style, and it really worked in both games for Györ. And
explosive is a great way to put her, and she really came in and had that impact. Just a word on Esbjerg before we move on to semi-final. I know you want to talk
to me about Henny Reistad. What did you think about her performance in that game? Because obviously she's had an incredible season, the highest ever top scorer with 152 goals in the Champions League. She's been really ethereal in the competition. Yeah. What did you think of her performance in the second half, in the semi-final?
There's nothing about it that I saw that was like necessarily wrong with the way she played. It feels like the longer they go into the game, it's almost like they're reverting back to, what they find might be the easiest solution. And a lot of the players are just like, we'll give the ball to Henny and try and make her come up with the solution. And it doesn't happen for the entire game, but it feels like it happens at a certain point in the second half, because she was creating easy goals at times throughout the first half, first 45 minutes or so, it felt. I don't have the breakdown of when she scored her goals. 7 out of 9 was her tally from the first semi-final. But it always seems to be the same with Esbjerg. It's like they go, at a certain point, they feel like she's the one who has to come up with the big plays. The opponent, the Hungarian side, find a way eventually to stop her, and then they make things happen on the wings, and the wings miss in the end because their wings aren't as good as they should be, and so I can't blame her for that. And I don't know what it is about Esbjerg with the wing players. I mean, in this case, it was Elin Hansson who was the scapegoat.
Yeah.
And she has been over the years for Sweden as well. The player who happens to be the best left winger for her nation, but isn't quite good enough to deliver them a medal at an Olympics, and here isn't quite good enough to deliver them a final at the Final Four. And so, yeah, I mean, I can't really blame her, because at the end of the day, if you're looking at the fine margins, there were the two things I had in mind. It was the wing shooting, and I think it was 3 missed penalties, at least 2 missed penalties, if not a third missed penalty in that second half, and that makes all the difference in the end.
Yeah, I fully agree with your assessment there. I think Henny Reistad kept making the right decisions at the end. She was basically getting double teamed. It's almost like basketball. Top player gets double teams. She would break past one player. There'll be a second comes, and she'd break down. I know exactly the moment you're talking about, those wing misses from Elin Hansson, where again, it was the right decision to pass the ball, the right decision, the good gap, and it came down to those margins in this game. And I don't necessarily want to scapegoat Hansson there. There's a few other kind of missed chances throughout the game due to this kind of... They don't even come out in assists a lot of the time. Especially when she plays as the center player, she kind of does her little breakthrough and it moves, and the finish isn't there. And, it's just not there 5% of the time. That's the margin here. It's not a ongoing, reoccurring issue. It's just at those crucial moments. And I don't think there's much else that Henny could have done. Again, 7 goals, 5 assists, great performance. Despite that, there was, the one goal that she did score at the end was when it was a passive play and she just shot over the top and she got it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a decision that she needs to make, but I don't blame her for making the right play throughout the game. And she was really good. Absolutely heartbroken at the end in the post-game interviews.
I can't believe they made her speak twice in a row.
That was
leave her alone.
It was brutal. It's brutal.
So bad. Yeah. Really hard. I mean, asking about the bronze medal game and stuff like that.
That was
got to do better than that. That was really tough. And it's like, I'm really glad she won the title before with Vipers, because if not, it would be getting down Miguel Hansen territory at this stage. And she's still so young and so amazing. And it is so easy to kind of refer to these fine margins as and beating a team with that. I mean, we've seen teams like Veszprem and Kielce on the men's side just suffer these fine margin losses in the past. They will have to go through this for a whole other year now, because this is the topic with them. Nothing else. They have a Danish league final coming up this week, and of course that's important, but once surrounding that will be the fact that they couldn't get to the final again, and then the questions they'll be receiving. There will always, for the next 12 months in the build-up, will be about getting to the Final Four again and getting to a final, maybe, at last. So it's really, it's tough. They will come back strong. I think they've got some good players coming in over the summer as well, which is quite exciting for them. But maybe the wings need to be sorted.
Yeah. Michaela Miller was absolutely absent in the semi-final. That scored 7 goals, and that's a big miss for them, I think.
Yes, because you need people to support her, and I think Liva Dyla did that fairly well. She was the one who kind of stepped up.
The Dyla sisters,
they're amazing.
They were amazing, both of them.
Yes,
they're just they're so dynamic. that kind of sideways falling shot that both of them do after a breakthrough, it's just spectacular.
That's class. Come on, let's move on to the second semi-final, Alex. And you gave us in the morning club on Friday big hot take on Katrine Lunde being the difference maker. She'd be the one who'd get it all done. You were confident in her, but you didn't watch her entire second half. You weren't so confident in her, it seems.
I lost full confidence after 40 minutes and Metz took a 7-goal lead. I decided that maybe I should make some breakfast and walk the dog. This game's done. And to my surprise, when I came in from walking the dog, it was extra time. It was actually you messaging to me being like, "Oh, your prediction came through." I was like, "What?"
Astonishing.
Oh, not my best work on that. So I can't fully comment on the performance. But seriously, Katrine Lunde, just both games, both the semi-final and the final. Close to 40% save rate when every other goalkeeper struggled in this Final Four. There was no one really got close to the 40% mark, barely even into the 30% mark. And Katrine Lunde, 45 years old, just does it again and again, and really just demoralized Metz. I don't have any more superlatives for Katrine Lunde beyond, she's now could be one of the greatest female athletes, winners of all time. I can't have to research other sports, but I can't think of any winners in, basketball or soccer, football that kind of rival something like that. Even the likes of Serena Williams, I don't think Serena Williams fully stacks up with what Katrine Lunde has done in her career. It's truly remarkable.
A funny little bit of context there is she was going for her 8th Champions League title, which unfortunately she missed out on this time, but now Györ have matched her tally. They have 7 titles now. She has 7 titles. And we think about how dominant they have been over the last basically decade and a half. And she bookended the Danish barren spell of reaching finals. She was playing in the last final that a Danish team played in with Viborg, and she played in this one as well. But just to go to that second half, it's a great lesson, and we've seen many great lessons, I think, in Final Fours of massive comebacks. We think of Kielce, we think of Flensburg against Barca, the 6 or 7 goal turnarounds. And, in any normal game, you think, okay, it's done. But there's something something about these events where it's just worth trying to stay in it because it's the ultimate reward that sparks it. And when they went 7 goals up, Metz, there was nothing there that suggested that they were going to blow this. A timeout was taken by Oli Ekstad. Did what he could to kind of lay out how they were going to come back and just trying to focus on one goal at a time. And then you had Katrine Lunde in goal, who managed. I think it was four saves in the second half, and then 4 saves in extra time. But once they got just a couple of goals back, Metz really got into their own head, and it was such a fascinating, kind of mental thing to see them break down like that. That to go from being so confident and so composed in attack to just completely falling apart is something that I think is going to hurt them for a long time. And remember, this is a team that hadn't lost a game all season. An extraordinary record. They were heading for yet another victory. They had dropped 1 point in the Champions League, a draw against Storhamar, but besides that, had won every other game. And looked like they were cruising, but it was a great example of that you're never quite cruising at a Final Four. There's no handball explanation to that. I think it is purely mentality and like the impact that someone like Lunde can have. The rest of the team in Odense as well, like brilliant. How they stepped up, even when one of their best players as well, Elma Halilcevic, got a red card, direct red card in the wing. It was her replacement, Anna Grundtvig, who I don't think she was expecting to do much in this game, but had to come in and I think scored the winning goal as well. Phenomenal. And really, really tough to take for Metz as well, particularly because there was a couple of players, Cleopatra Darla and Alison Pinot, who were retiring now at the end of the season, but this was their last chance to do it with the team. But they left a lot on the table, Metz, Grandveux missing 6 of her 11 shots, Granier missing 6 of her 11 shots, Vamos missing 5 of her 7 shots, Anna Mena Hansen missing 5 of her 6 shots. Like, that is a lot of shots to leave behind. And of course, extra time kind of adds a little bit to that. But I had the feeling you had a chance to watch that extra time, but once it went to extra time, there was only going to be one team to win it. And Katrine Lunde she conceded 2 goals in 10 minutes in that extra time period. And it looked like for a while she wasn't going to concede any goals.
Yeah, exactly. But you look at this Metz team, and it's very young. When you look at their top scorers, Jacques on the right back, 23 years old, Grandvaux, 22 years old, Buktit, 22, Petra Vamos, 24. These are kind of young rising stars who haven't been at this level, haven't done this. And it's a classic thing that happens to younger, inexperienced teams, where when things are going well, you know their skill, their talent shines through. When they get it hit in the face by Katrine Lunde, that's when they get nervous. And the player that I would say I'm most disappointed in is Anna Mette Hansen, who has been really fantastic over the last year for Denmark. She really took this kind of leadership role in the last World Championship as well, where she even last year with Györ, right? She was a Györ.
Last year with Metz as well, but before that, Györ,
the year before that, she was. I don't know. She's the one that needed to step up there, and she couldn't. And I know I don't really blame her. I'm almost surprised by it, because she has, got that crucial goal at the moment where the team needs most, whether it's Denmark or Metz multiple times, and this time was pretty atrocious, 1 from 6.
Yeah. And she's someone who, I think this is her 8th Final Four in a row. So she's experienced every kind of event that can happen, and maybe could have been able to counteract that. But easier said than done at times. But amazing that Odense managed to break through. On Sunday then in the final, it looked like they had given us their performance. I was really, really worried. And after it was 6-1 down, which is talked about Esbjerg needing to kind of get a lead and hold on to it against Györ in a final. That's even more extreme.
Yeah, so 6-1, it felt like a really weird start to a final. I don't know what you made of it.
Odense weren't playing bad by any means. They came out, they made some chances, but they gave the ball away very easily, which was kind of I fear a little bit of a recurring theme throughout this game, and it was highlighted. Basically, it was like something I think I've seen in Györ matches and in France matches over the years, time and time again. Györ take the lead, and then they go into defense, turn the ball over, and it's Estelle Enzimenko on the counter-attack, making it 2-0.
Oh, doing her
little
flying
sidestep.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think exactly. She's done it like at every European Championship and semi-final or Olympic semi-final over the last decade, and she did it again there to start the bleed. And the tough thing is that if you're Odense, you want to get off to a solid start. But on the on the bright side, they weren't playing that badly. And the positive thing about going 5 or 6 goals down early in a match is that there's always a bounce back at this level. Like, you always feel like teams will get a couple of goals back and make it a 3-goal game. Then all of a sudden it doesn't look that extreme, which is what happened there. And from there, the first half I think was quite well on the scoreboard. It was exactly even. It ended up being 20-15 at half time. It probably should and could have been closer than that, like a 2 or 3 goal game at the half. But Odense just left so many chances behind, and you cannot afford to do that at this level. I was really impressed, though, that then in the second half they were able to make a game of it, because most of the time you look at that and you think, okay, that Györ are not going to let this one slip. But someone came on early enough in the game this time, towards the end of the first half, and once again it was Katrine Lunde.
Should she just have played the whole game? Would that have made a difference? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Can she play 2 games fully in a row anymore? Probably not.
Well, she ended up being close enough to it, right? At least playing more than a half in both games, if you think about the extra time. But I also feel like there was some discussion of this as well. Barbara Arnhart saying that maybe she prefers to come off the bench nowadays, has a chance to look at the teams and get a feel for it. And yeah, I mean, just being that kind of presence who comes off and you're like, okay, party's over now. Maybe that is the mental aspect of that is just as important as anything.
Yeah, 12 saves, 44%. That's another incredible performance. But on the other side, as I said before, Sacco came on and did the same thing. Again, when you look at Sacco's percentage, 5 from 14, 35%. But she started 3 from 5 on that. So she got her 3 saves straight away, which broke, or at least there was a period where Sacco and Lunde went save for save, back and forth, basically in the middle of that comeback from Odense. And if you remove Sacco from that equation, that could have been the driver to the huge comeback, but it didn't happen because she was there to break it off. The other limiting factor, I think, for Odense is that they really didn't have a backcourt shooting threat. Mia Hoyland, Dyla, Elver, all really dynamic players, and especially Mia Hoyland, it was great to see her perform at the highest level, where we know she can. They can't shoot over. They have to break through every single time. And when I say shoot over, we're shooting over, Bristol at 1.93 m and Dulfer and Lynn Blum and Lagerquist. It's a big team that Györ have assembled in their defence.
I think it was towards the end of the half that Louisa Burgard came in. I think she scored 3 goals in quick succession, all from long range. And she is someone who you don't always know if it's going to come from her. She's a little bit hit and miss, but she was definitely hitting this time. And also because she's such a good defender, I was surprised not to see more of her in the second half. She came on quite late again. She was able to get 1 more goal, but she was that player who was able to, from 10 metres out, find a way past the defence. So maybe interesting there. Maybe it's because she has been injured for a lot of the season that she, again, wasn't able to play the 60 minutes, but I would have thought she'd get a bit more court time in that second half and offer something a little bit differently.
Yeah, exactly. And I was going to say that she was the only solution, but on that, and still I don't think she quite has the long-range shooting power that she used to. Again, I think built on those injuries that she's had, I think it's not as clean-cut as it used to be with Louisa Burgard. So I think that was a bit of a limiting factor. Again, you mentioned the turnovers. Elver had a pretty bad final. I really like her as a player. I think there's a lot of talent there, but she had 5 turnovers, which is killer at this level.
That's what made the difference in the end. When you break it down into the simplest of terms of your shooting percentage, Odense had a higher one than Györ. They had a higher goalkeeping percentage, but they had 15 registered turnovers to Györ's 9 in the end. That's a big difference. And when the scoreline ends with just 2 between the sides, that's what cost them in the end. But that's like, how crazy is that after being pummeled in the first half at the beginning, that they were able to make such a game of it and to make such a big comeback again. Really, I think Odense have an awful lot to be proud of this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was an impressive performance. Yeah, the newcomer bounce to the Final Four really worked for that. And I'll say the last point, Chapshit on the line had a bit of a nightmare, which is tough, compounded by that late red card as well. Just a tough game for her. But Györ were fantastic. They basically went in the lead in both their games and never let it go. And that's a true champion.
Yeah. Really well managed, I think, by Per Johansson. He had his eye on the ball the entire time with this team. I found his timeouts were very kind of informative, very controlled, which was impressive to see. And the team as well, they have all these winners in it, like Carrie Bratzett had in comparison.
She had a fantastic final. Again, a former Final Four MVP, Carrie Bratzett.
Yeah, done it again. And yeah, they have players like that who absolutely know how to win. But there was a lot of players who came in new to this team. You've Van Vetering, Hovden, who was there, I think, for the end of last season as well. But Bryce still just joined the team. Jurgensen just joined the team as well. House here just joined the team. A lot of players.
Yeah, we haven't talked about House here, who was top scorer for Györ in both games. But she seemed to just do it in a very quiet way. It was funny because I've been bigging up House here for a while now, but she really came through and was just a steady force. There was no time where she led a comeback or brought the team forward. It was just constant, one goal every 10 minutes to just make sure that Györ stayed in the lead, and was very confident throughout both games. Definitely another well-deserved Final Four championship and Women's Champions League title for Györ in Budapest. They were the best team. They deserve it. Great weekend of handball. Of course, we now move on to the men's Final Four, set our eyes on that. So we'll have some previews for that over the next couple of weeks, as well as a little morning club to come this week to talk about the weekend, the big weekend in the Bundesliga, which threw up some very interesting results and some other highlights across European handball. So if you don't follow us on Patreon, if you haven't joined us, definitely a good time to do it for this crunch time of the handball season. But for today, that's it from me, Alex Gulash, and Chris O'Reilly. Thank you.